Hey everybody, welcome back to the Prepper Post News, courtesy of Freedom Prepper. I am Perrin Lovett, and this is Friday, February 19th, 2021. Hello to everybody at Freedom Prepper, at the community, freedompreppercommunity.com, our YouTube channel, and of course everybody listening to the podcast at Anchor, Spotify, and elsewhere. I've got a couple of things today. This was going to be a shorter, sweeter news show. I think I'm still going to tell my little story at the end, but Wednesday, late Wednesday, I was kind of out of the news. I had already pre-filmed yesterday's show, and I thought yesterday's show was pretty good. I'm kind of self-critical a lot of the time, but I thought it was good. And then, not long after that, I saw that Rush Limbaugh had died at an age of 70 because of lung cancer. And so I just wanted to take just a few minutes to express my gratitude for everything that Rush has done these past, I think it's 33 years, a third of a century. He single-handedly turned around the media. He came on the scene. He was syndicated. Where was it? Sacramento, I believe. He went from Kansas City to Sacramento. Then he got his national show out of New York, later out of Florida, and at a time when it was just the mainstream media, meaning television stations and newspapers. Most of which had a definite left-wing spin, something, of course, we don't know anything about these days. But back then, he was the great loud voice calling from the right. And everybody, to the right of, George Bush, owes Rush some gratitude. I especially, because he influenced a lot of my early practical political thinking. I think his show came out about the time I was getting ready to get out of high school, so it had an impact. I think he hit his golden years during the Clinton regime. It was like he was meant to come on at about that time because while things were unfolding, it gave him so many targets to shoot at, and he did such a great job. After that, I think I've said this in the past that I kind of grew out of Rush, and my thinking went even further to the right. But he always, through the ups and downs, he was always a steady, constant beacon, not only of what's good, true, and beautiful, but what was hopeful. And he put a lot of humor into it and touched a lot of lives. And there's no one who can take his place. And a lot of people, rose up with him or because of him. Sean Hannity, Michael Savage, Neil Boortz, G. Gordon Liddy. I used to love G. Gordon's show. But, and now the situation has changed. The liberals are still doing their liberal communism. Communists gonna commie. But we've got voices. We've got too many voices. People are screaming out on Twitter and Gab, and from every corner of the world, somebody's got an opinion. Most of them don't make a lot of sense. But I imagine they're gonna be pushing people to take his place. If I had to put my money on the number one proposed replacement for Rush Limbaugh, I know who it is, and you probably do too. But Rush was not a gatekeeper. He was his own man, and that in itself is an incredible story. So I just want to express my condolences to his wife, to his brother, David, everybody else. I know a lot of us are missing him. And, about this time last year, he was accepting the Presidential Medal of Freedom. And, if we thought that anybody could beat stage 4 lung cancer, it'd be Rush Limbaugh. And I don't think cancer has had many tougher men to try to take down, but everybody's time comes, and Rush's time was up on Wednesday. Age 70, a great American and one who will be missed. All right. The feature story, such as it is a man that, oh, I won't say anything. I'll just say that he's not our friend. Unlike Rush Limbaugh was your friend. Even if you didn't like him, he was doing you a service. Bill Gates is not your friend. He's done some services here and there when he's not conjuring up glitchy error codes that masquerade as software programs. He's working on plans to thin the herd. And when he's not doing that, he's got his pet project of fighting non-existent global warming or climate change hoaxes. Got a Wall Street Journal story about the day of the great insurrection at the Capitol, 1/6, a day that will live in infamy. About the time that Lady Gaga was warming up for her great performance. I like Lady Gaga. Great performance of the Star Spangled Banner. Wildfires were burning somewhere, and people and scientists had never seen a wildfire before. It has to be the hottest. The whole world is on fire, even though now it's frozen to the point that we can't have electricity or gas. But the world was on fire, and the FBI was out looking for non-existent white supremacist, civil warmongering insurrectionists. Here's a nod to us from the Wall Street Journal. Online sales of prepper gear, gas mask, food preservation kits, things we've talked about recently, were brisk. Meanwhile, Bill, that's impressive that we get lumped in there. Our lifestyle is getting, front page traction at the one of the three largest newspapers and one of the few that's still growing in the United States. At the same time, Bill Gates was at his lakeside compound in Seattle, which I'm sure has a carbon footprint the size of Lowell, Massachusetts. He was gearing up for his, and I wish we could get the coordinates to this, not the address, the coordinates to this compound, for reasons. Gearing up for his next effort to save the planet from mass extinction. Take a look at that. FreedomPrepper.com, all the stories are linked up. I mean, you know the story behind Gates and mass extinction. But the man also, according to the Washington Times, Bill Gates also wants you, the civilized people in developed countries, to start eating fake meat. I didn't even look at what fake meat is. It's probably, stem cells grown in a laboratory. It kind of looks like beef, but you don't know. It's frankenfood. Alternatively, these same people say that you can get by eating bugs and weeds like a real animal. This is for the survivors, of course, of the plan. As is, a follow-up story from Yahoo News, food inflation is rising at the fastest rate ever, blah, blah, blah. You can't afford food, but if you can, it's going to be genetically modified, just like some other things are trying to inject into the system these days. Crazy, crazy, crazy stuff. All right, so we have, you may not be familiar with this story. It's called the coronavirus pandemic. I had not heard of it myself until just a few days ago. Apparently, there were trillions and trillions of cases of this most horrible disease since the Black Death in the Middle Ages. But all of a sudden, the cases are just vanishing. The AP reports that the cases are they're going away in India, and nobody knows why. Nobody knows what to do. The same thing, according to Bloomberg, is happening in the United Soviet States of America, the old U.S. And nobody can understand it because we have not yet been able to get the the vaccine to every single person dumb enough to take it. So where are the cases going? It's almost I don't want to say that it looks a lot like a cyclical seasonal cold or flu that's run its course and is going away, But this has got to really bother when he's awake people like Joe Biden and Bill Gates when he's not scheming in the compound, because it makes it a lot harder to push the agenda. I guess they'll just double down and take your pick, Mars or Venus. The aliens are coming from somewhere. That's next, and they'll probably be bringing another virus with them. Oh Lord. All right. We've read that when all of this is over, like 70% of Americans, or excuse me, USians, USSAians, the Soviet Americans, will continue to wear their triple face burqas for safety. Hard to do these shows sometimes, hard to do. But I saw a story, and I link it up here at the site. There's rank speculation all over the place that when this subsides, you're going to have a lot of the masked faithful that are going to come out and deny, like Peter. They will deny that they were ever associated. Oh no, I wasn't afraid. I wasn't afraid of the big bad coronavirus. No, I did not wear a mask. You can call that hypocrisy. You can call it human nature. If everybody did that, that'd be fine, because that's still better than 2/3 of the population continuing to embrace their new religious cult. And I witnessed somebody at a grocery store the other day fighting back against the cult. He was literally standing there explaining to the doorman at the grocery store, who in his Tyvek suit with his Clorox bottle. This guy was just explaining to him that we have immune systems, and then this masking looks a lot like a Jonestown style religious movement. He doesn't want to be part of it, and he doesn't think anybody else should either. Individual choices, and I'll point out some people who left comments about if you really are sick. For years, if people are sick and they know it and they have to go out, they'll wear a mask as a courtesy to everybody else. I have done that myself on the rare instance that I get sick and I have to go out amongst the people. Yeah, I mean, that's common courtesy. But to do it the way it's been done. Moving on, back to France. There's some strange spirit rising up among the French. It has a Charles Martel feel to it. May it spread far and wide. But they've got an election coming up next year. This is probably I predicted this is the election when the hard right, led by Madame Le Pen, will start sweeping the continent and then start sweeping up the troublemakers. So in advance of that, Emmanuel Macron is trying to get tough too, so he looks like a viable candidate. They've got a new law. They're going to crack down on terrorists, on foreign invaders in France, and this is most vexing and worrying to the foreign invaders in France and their many allies among the Luciferians. If you don't like it, I got a hint for all you folks. Get out. Go home. You came from somewhere. Go back there. Sooner than later. Meanwhile, back in the USSA, wasn't that a song? Back in the USSA, things just keep sliding. Back in the USSR, and from Russia, RT has this beautiful op-ed by Helen Beniski about America's future. It's called America's future is in the hands of woefully inept cretins at a time when creativity and innovation are needed more than ever. That's putting it mildly, lady, but thanks. She says, she asks, so why are these most victimized by the system running into the arms of the same crew of unimaginative, solipsal sociopaths who have repeatedly wrecked society in the first place? And she gives, the rest of it is just all these examples. Why? Because the people are just not that bright, and they, sometimes through no fault of their own, lead lifestyles that leave something to be desired. It's not your problem until it comes knocking on the door. We're getting to story time in just a second. Okay. This one, you know, I like to write fiction. I someday just want to be a novelist, but it's so hard. It's so hard inventing fictional scenarios that can even start to compete with real life. Here's a story from the National File about a story from NPR. You just can't make this stuff up. On the February 4 episode of NPR's Fresh Air program, Dr. Anthony Fauci, who has led the movement since 1984, admitted to frequenting gay bars and bathhouses in the 1980s, so he could gain a better scientific understanding of how HIV and AIDS spread among the homosexual population. This is the guy that, 30 years ago was telling us that, if we didn't, the system wasn't in place yet, so he could talk about it, but there was no way to, to say force people to wear masks. But he was telling us that basically everybody was going to be dead from AIDS soon, and that, we obviously are not. Just like they're saying now that, everybody's going to be dead from the coronavirus, and we're not. How interesting that he repeated, and he goes on to explain why he did this for science. Tony, yeah, I don't really want to meet with you now ever, but through a proxy, I got a bridge I want to talk to you about. And anybody that believes that, please let me know about this wonderful bridge. Quick Claim Deed standing by. All right, gather around now. It's time for story time. And this is just something I thought of. It's political ideology in a fable-like form. I thought about writing it up, and it needs work. But here's the story. It's a charming fairy tale for the prepper set and for anybody else who will listen to it. Imagine that there's a cute little cottage deep in the woods. You can think of it as a woodcutter's cot, or a little shack, or a English cottage, whatever. It's a little house in the middle of the deep dark forest. And this little house is a nation in and of itself, and inside there are people who live in the nation. Let's meet some of them. But first, the house has seen better days. It's getting a little dilapidated. Things like the front door are in danger of falling down or falling apart. And wouldn't you know it, just like the other fairy tales, outside late at night, a wolf has come to the door. And the wolf is very hungry, and the wolf wants in so he can eat. And but let's get back to the people who live in the house. One of the people in the house has gone outside, and that is the globalist. The globalist, when the first bangs on the door came, ran out the back, and is now standing behind the wolf, pushing the wolf forward and smiling. And back behind the globalist is his master, Satan. So inside, there are two people at the door, the front door, and they've got their hands on the latch, and they're kind of fighting over it. The wolf is, the door is falling down, the wolf is about to come in, and these guys are fighting over the latch. One of them is a liberal, and he's saying, we're all wolves are equal, we need equity, we need more diversity in here, we should let the wolf in. Wasn't Jesus a wolf? And he's arguing with the conservative. Now the conservative is saying, listen, I'll agree to tolerate this wolf, because I don't want you calling me bad names, but I don't accept him. And the only way I'm going to let him in just this one time is if I get your promise that he is going to magically turn into a good conservative as soon as he sets foot in the house. And right behind them, we've got air traffic moving close. Danger close here in the studio. Ignore that. Right behind the liberal and the conservative is the House Libertarian. And he's saying things, mumbling them while he's lighting up his second joint. He's saying, no borders, man. Dude, let's, we're all equal. Let's have free trade. And, dude, let's make it legal so we can keep smoking. Dude, man. Now, there are other people in the House, the apolitical, the good, honest folks that, just don't normally pay attention. A lot of them had their face downs in their screens, and some of them would disagree and resist the wolf when he came in if they had time, but they probably won't. There's one other person in there, standing facing the door, a good distance away from everybody else. There's a nationalist, and the nationalist has taken a fighting stance, and he's just cocked a hammer, and he's thinking to himself, if these fools would get out of the way, I can drop the wolf and maybe get a shot off at the globalist behind him. So make of that what you will, folks. It's just a fable, fictional, has nothing to do with the real world. If it did, however, who would you want to be, and who would you want to side with? I have made up my mind. I really need to write that one out. Maybe this weekend. I have some time, and I think it's not going to be frozen or flooded. So we'll see. We'll see about a lot of things. And I'll see you back on Monday with a new week. Happy prepping and have a great weekend.